I still don't think Code's white karma seal is just a failed karma seal from Isshiki Otsutsuki, and after reading Boruto chapter 75, I can't be the only one. Amado implied that Code's claw marks came from Shibai Otsutsuki, or at the very least not from Isshiki, as we know Isshiki doesn't have that ability. So why should I believe it's Ishiki's white karma when we didn't even see what happened? Why should I believe it's Ishiki's white karma when Code has a Shinjutsu power that Isshiki didn't even have? And why should I believe the white karma seal is a normal thing that happens when Momoshiki doesn't even seem to know what it is?
Why should I?
Seriously? You asked why?
I still think Amado had a hand in giving Code his white karma seal, and I'm gonna explain what I think the white karma seal actually is, how it works, and how Amado created it. But first, let me give you 9 reasons why that's probably not the real Isshiki that talked to Code in chapter 55. First of all, Isshiki just looks fake here. He just looks like a hologram projection, especially in the anime. His eye is wrong in the manga version, only having 2 triangles like Jigen or Kawaki when he uses Sukuna Hikona rather than the full 8 triangle Dharma wheel design that Isshiki had at all times when he was revived. Although the anime has the regular eyes, at least. He talks very strangely to Code, calling him his most loyal beloved servant, which Jigen never did in the manga or the anime. His soul somehow came out of Code's white karma seal, even though he supposedly couldn't serve as a receptacle for Ishiki's soul, which wouldn't make much sense if Code was literally holding his soul. Otherwise, he could have just hung out there like Momoshiki does with Boruto. Code's white karma also literally smokes like Amado's various ninja tools when they overheat, even with his better cyborgs like Kawaki, Delta, and Deepa. Ada also can't see Momoshiki's spirit talk to Boruto outside of Boruto's body with her Senrigan on more than one occasion, but somehow she was able to see Isshiki talk to Code. The fact that Momoshiki can stop time or whatever the heck he's doing shouldn't matter because Sasuke could still see Momoshiki's spirit talk to Boruto even when he was doing his time stop thing, so it's just a matter of the Rinnegan being able to see spirits while the Senrigan can't because they are different dojutsu with different benefits. Plus, Ada doesn't seem to have seen Momoshiki talk to Boruto in chapter 75, or when he appeared by Boruto in chapter 73, where he didn't stop time in either situation, so the fact that she could see Isshiki talk to Code is very sus. This Isshiki also conveniently doesn't bring up Kashin Koji for Code's hit list, even though Isshiki knew Kashin Koji survived and that he was one of the most important people in causing Ishiki's death by crashing the blimp carrying Kawaki and letting him join the Leaf Village, and by killing Jigen to start everything off. Kashin Koji played way more of a role in Ishiki's death than Sasuke or Boruto did, but yet Isshiki mentions them on Code's hit list, but not Koji, who Amado conveniently thought was dead because he expected Koji to die fighting Isshiki. Isshiki also might not even be dead right now, which I've talked about in previous videos, and I'm going to talk about that a little more later in this video. But if Isshiki is still alive, that's all the more reason why this Isshiki is probably fake. And best of all, in the same chapter and episode as this Isshiki and Code conversation, Amado is literally muttering under his hand for a few panels, and doesn't stop when Katasuki asks him a question twice. And it's still never been explained why Amado was muttering, and Katasuki and Sumire have never asked Amado about it, probably because they didn't realize he was talking under his hand. But given its placement in the chapter, I think that's when Amado gave Code the message from Isshiki to become a god and stuff. How do you listen to all those things I just said and still think Isshiki really came out of Code's white karma seal and died and gave him a mission to become a god? So if Code's white karma didn't come from Isshiki and instead was manufactured by Amado, what could Amado have done to create Code's white karma seal? First, let's take a look at what we know so far. Code's appearance seems to have changed since he first joined Kara. Based on Kawaki's flashback of the Karma experiments, Code's hair used to be in the same style as it was when his limiters were on, rather than flowing back and upwards like it is now. His eyelashes weren't that long in the past, and his nails weren't painted. He basically looked like Code with limiters, but without the claw mark on his head, or the tattoos under his eyes, or the earrings. And he looked this way in another flashback sometime after he got his white karma seal. However, at some point his hair went from red to white and it started flowing up and back, his eye color changed, he grew long eyelashes, his nails became painted, and he put a claw mark on his head. However, Jigen said Code was too strong and had Amado put limiters on him, which appeared to undo that, changing Code's hair, eyes, eyelashes, and nails, restoring them back to their original state, as these are the things that changed when he got his limiters removed. Now we know Code still has his white karma seal and his claw marks even with his limiters on, but some power within him was severely limited and it affected his appearance, his physical strength, and the amount of claw marks he could put out at one time. We also know that Code doesn't appear to have Otsutsuki DNA, or if he does, then it's not very much because he's still affected by Ada. So now we need to ask some important questions. First, why did Code's appearance change? And second, does Code's claw marks have anything to do with his white karma seal whatsoever, or is it completely separate? To answer the first question, it's probably because of the white karma seal. The only reasonable options would be the white karma seal or Shibai's DNA, or whatever caused Code to get his claw marks ability, if he got them from something separate from the white karma. Since transplanting Shibai's DNA didn't change the appearance of Ada or Daemon, as far as we know anyway, other than their dojutsu eyeballs, and Ada and Daemon both don't have white hair, and neither does Kawaki, who has karma seal and Isshiki's DNA. The odd one out here appearance-wise is Code, and he's the only one who has a white karma seal, and I mean, come on. It's called the white karma seal, and Code's hair became white, so that seems to be the safer answer. And we'll get into why this could have changed his appearance later on. And I'm just talking about his hair and eyelashes and stuff, by the way, not the claw mark on his head. Obviously, that's from the claw mark ability. Now, for the second question, I think it's cooler, it helps explain some power mechanics better if Code's claw marks is related to his white karma seal, rather than being a completely separate thing with no connection whatsoever. I know Code got the claw mark on his head sometime after getting his white karma, and he can use the claw marks without activating his karma seal, which makes them look separate, but they could still be connected because, for example, Kawaki can now use Isshiki's eye and its abilities without activating his karma seal, but he didn't know how to do that right off the bat, so it could be the same idea for Code and his claw marks. Furthermore, the way Ada and Daemon acquired Shinjutsu abilities is supposedly via the transplanting of Shibai's DNA onto their bodies, and Code was implied to have gotten his claw mark Shinjutsu from Shibai as well, or at the very least not from Isshiki. If Code hypothetically had Shibai's DNA transplanted into him, just like Ada and Daemon, plus a white karma seal on top of that, it seems very odd for why he'd be so much weaker than Daemon, and probably Ada too, if he got the exact same thing as them plus more. You'd think he'd be stronger than them, not weaker. And having Otsutsuki DNA would potentially make him immune to Ada's love charm like Daemon, Boruto, and Kawaki, but Code is not immune to it, so he either doesn't have Otsutsuki DNA, or he doesn't have enough to be immune. And the white karma seal would still be what's making his hair white and stuff, since Ada and Daemon don't have those features and they do have Shibai's DNA. In addition to that, Ada and Daemon were included by Amado as part of the Otsutsuki lot that Boruto and Kawaki were in, whereas Code has never been included in that Otsutsuki lot, nor is he shown the ability to fly like one, and he was also given a mission to become an Otsutsuki, because he's not one yet. So the major implication we get from all these things is that Code probably doesn't have Shibai's DNA or any Otsutsuki's DNA in his body. So with that in mind, we'd have to question how Code could have gotten this claw mark Shinjutsu from Shibai or whoever it's from. If it's not from Shibai's DNA transplanted into Code's body, what is it from then? The answer is Shibai's chakra. Both an Otsutsuki's genetic information and chakra get stored and extracted from a normal karma seal. Code's white karma seal is described as being a pure power karma seal, and the power inside the karma seal is the Otsutsuki's chakra. Like I said, it doesn't seem like it's Isshiki's chakra, so it's probably another Otsutsuki's chakra, and so far Shibai seems the most likely. Code very easily could have acquired this claw mark ability from Shibai or whoever's chakra, as we've seen this do the trick several times in the past. For example, Naruto acquired Shukaku's magnet style and the Four Tails lava style and the other tail beast abilities simply by acquiring their chakras. Naruto also gained Hagoromo's creation of all things jutsu just from Hagoromo giving Naruto some of his power, and that ability totally seems like a Shinjutsu, by the way. It's basically the most godly jutsu in the verse. You can just create eyeballs for Kakashi and stop the 8th gate of death from killing Might Guy by using the creation of all things jutsu. But that's besides the point. The Ten Tails Jinchuriki also gained 6 paths Senjutsu and Truth Seeker orbs from the Ten Tails chakra, and so on. I can give a few more examples. The point, though, is that we've seen this before, particularly with Otsutsuki, the Ten Tails, and the Tail Beasts. So yes, I think it's possible for Code to gain one of Shibai's abilities from his chakra, and I'm going to continue to give reasons for why I think this makes sense. When it comes to Code's appearance, he seems like a halfway point between a human and an Otsutsuki or a Ten Tails Jinchuriki, who look a lot like the Otsutsuki. Code's skin didn't turn white like Madara and Obito's did, but his hair did. I'm thinking that Code's white karma essentially might extract Shibai or whoever's chakra onto Code's body rather than their DNA. And this either happened gradually like the other karma seals, and that's why his appearance hasn't changed in the chapter 59 flashback, or it happened immediately like with the Ten Tails Jinchuriki and he already had his limiters on during that flashback. Either way, I think the Otsutsuki's chakra extracted onto Code and it changed his hair color and appearance, just like how Madara and Obito's hair turned white from absorbing the Ten Tails. Same idea. And just as Kawaki didn't learn to use Isshiki's eye and its abilities, or to mask his chakra signature until further down the line, or the ability to fly, which he still hasn't learned yet, I think Code might have just not learned the Claw Mark's ability immediately, which would support the idea of his white karma seal extracting the chakra more gradually like the regular one does. It may have taken a certain amount of chakra or time and knowledge before he could use the ability, and Amado's limiters essentially limited that Shibai chakra that extracted into him, basically turning him back into regular Code, but with a little bit of that chakra, so he could still use his white karma and claw marks, just not to the same extent. Now, I know some of you might say,
Kamui, Boruto and Kawaki have Momoshiki and Ishiki's chakra, but their hair didn't turn white.
and blah blah blah. And yeah, you're right, but what's unique about Code and the Ten Tails Jinchuriki is that their DNA didn't get overwritten by an Otsutsuki, but instead they simply got the chakra of an Otsutsuki or the chakra of the Ten Tails, and having just a chakra but no DNA change might just cause their bodies to change differently from how Boruto's and Kawaki's did, becoming Otsutsuki-like in power and appearance, but not in DNA. If you honestly want me to give you a pretty sciencey answer for how this might be working inside everyone's body, just comment below. I want to hear the sciencey answer you talked about in the video. But anyway, let me give you another reason why this idea makes sense. This could have absolutely nothing to do with the white karma seal whatsoever, but it's an interesting observation I've made, and it does work pretty well with the coloring scheme. And it has to do with those Otsutsuki stone tablets in Ishiki's Ten Tails dimension. As I'm sure you've all noticed, the only tablet that we ever seen turn black at any point is Ishiki's. What Momoshiki, Kinshiki, and Kaguya all have in common is that none of them ever went into that dimension, at least on screen in the manga, and all of them are dead. Although Momoshiki's spirit is still alive inside Boruto, so I don't know if that counts as dead or sort of alive, but anyway, none of them ever went there, at least on screen. Isshiki, on the other hand, was alive and did go there. So the only things that would make sense for why his tablet turns black is either because it has to do with his physical body still being alive, or him physically being there in the dimension. since Isshiki's tablet was white when Sasuke first arrived and it was white in chapter 45 when Jigen was talking to Code. I'm thinking that it's not so much about Isshiki being alive in general, but more so about Ishiki's body being there in the dimension itself. I realize it's not perfect because it turns black right before Sasuke touches Ishiki's tablet and Jigen hadn't arrived quite yet, and it turns white again after Ishiki's hologram went away. But at the very least, it seems like if you're alive and go there, then it can turn black. I mean, Momoshiki and the others still never went there and they never turned black, so I don't know what else to tell you. And like I mentioned near the beginning of the video, this is just yet another reason why I think Isshiki might still be alive right now. His rods are still there and pinning down the 10 tails in chapters 55 and 72, and Ishiki's tablet is black in both chapters 55 and 72. They went out of their way to keep showing us Ishiki's tablet being black. Panels of just the stone tablets, and in chapter 72 they did it 2 panels in a row. I think they want us to notice how Ishiki's tablet is black, and I think that's because Isshiki is still alive and is actually hiding in that 10 tails dimension. Perhaps munching on the 10 tails to stay alive because of its strong life force, as I mentioned in a previous video. So now where this connects to the white Karma Seal conversation is that if the tablet turns black because Ishiki's body or DNA is in that dimension, and white when his body or DNA is absent, then perhaps it works the same way with the Karma Seals. Boruto and Kawaki's Karma Seals are black because Momoshiki and Ishiki's DNA was inside there and extracting normally, whereas Code's is white because Shibai's DNA is not inside there, or it is but it doesn't extract the DNA, only the chakra. Something along those lines. I don't think the reason it's white is because Shibai's soul isn't present inside Code's white Karma Seal, because Ishiki's soul wasn't really inside Kawaki's Karma Seal when he was still alive inside Jigen, and it doesn't appear to be inside Kawaki's Karma Seal right now. Possibly because he's still alive right now. Yet Kawaki's is still black, so I think the DNA theory makes more sense. And now we circle back to why Code is stronger than Jigen, but weaker than Daemon. Starting with Code and Jigen, Shibai is just implied to be stronger than Isshiki. The way they talk about Shibai is that he became a god and he's just more godly and powerful than the other Otsutsuki we've seen so far, which includes Isshiki. He also has Ishiki's eye, plus a Rinnegan and seemingly the powers of the Senrigan and Daemon's Dojutsu too, and possibly even Code's claw marks. He has like everything apparently. Shibai's chakra in one of his abilities is probably just worth more than Ishiki's DNA and his chakra and abilities, and Code is also not a weak vessel like Jigen was. And then for Code and Daemon, Shibai's DNA is probably just worth more than Shibai's chakra. Maybe this isn't the greatest example to illustrate this, but base Jigen had 100% of Ishiki's DNA extracted, and base Jigen was still a monster. He was stronger than base Naruto, and if he was at full power, he'd have been stronger than base Kashin Koji. He was very strong, and could still use Ishiki's Dojutsu and abilities. Jigen was a monk from way back in the day, before Hagoromo even went around giving people chakra, so I highly doubt Monk Jigen, over 1,000 years ago, was just this absolute monster prodigy that could stomp the verse. Most likely, he got way stronger because of Ishiki's DNA, and probably the fact that he was controlling him too. Now when you take Kawaki, even when Kawaki activated his Karma Seal and even grew a horn, back when Jigen impolitely invaded Naruto's house with his shoes still on, base Jigen was still way stronger than horned Kawaki, even though he was using that level of the Karma Seal, which means he was using a lot of Ishiki's chakra. Point is, the DNA seems more important power-wise than just the chakra alone. Obviously, Horned Kawaki Karma is way stronger nowadays than he was back then, but you get the point. So when it comes to Code and Daemon having Shibai's DNA probably just makes him stronger than Code having Shibai's chakra. That's my line of thinking, and whether you agree or disagree with this whole topic, I do think it makes sense based on what we've seen. Now, the next question would be, how the heck did Amado even make Code's white Karma Seal?
But how? I don't get it!
Given that Amado says to Sumire, "I can't set such a thing up from scratch, but reopening the door, that much I can do." And the fact that he wants Kawaki to implant a karma on a Delta body since Amado added Akebi's data to Kawaki's Karma Seal, I'm inclined to say that Amado can't create Karma Seals. But what he can do is mess with the process of Jigen transferring a Karma Seal to Code in a failed attempt to try and make a Shibai Karma Seal for Code. My guess is that Amado used Shibai's remains and tried to make a Karma Seal out of it for Code by having that transferring to Code instead of Jigen's Karma, where Amado may have actually needed Jigen to use the Karma Shinjutsu so that he could clone it and create a Karma Seal for Code with Shibai's Chakra, and it ultimately ended up making the white Karma Seal, where it contains and extracts Shibai's Chakra only, and Jigen just didn't realize what Amado did. Something along those lines anyway. Now the next question after all of this would be, why did Amado even make Code's white Karma Seal in the first place?
Wanna know why?
And I've started discussing some early ideas for this in a few previous videos, and I'd like to keep talking more about it in future videos. But Amado's mission for Code to become a god seems very connected to all of this, and I think it's indirectly connected to Amado's plan to revive his daughter, but I'll leave it at that for now. I want to hear what you guys think though. First and foremost, do you think that Isshiki talking to Code was fake? Second, do you think Code's white Karma Seal is not from Isshiki, but instead created by Amado using Shibai's body in one way or another? And do you think the way it works is it basically gives Code Shibai's Chakra but no DNA? And that Chakra is ultimately how Code eventually got his claw marks ability, and why his appearance changed, and he got white hair and stuff. And do you think Isshiki is still alive because of his tablet still being black? Let me know in the comment section below, but that's a wrap on today's video, so thank you guys for watching until the end. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, like the video, and hit the bell icon for notifications. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye!